All right, hello everyone. Looks like we are ready to go. We're here live with our weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream. I am Community Manager Cordovan here on Lamania this week. This week we are previewing Update 22 Patch 2, which arrived on Lamania on Monday and is expected to get yet another update later this week. Should be coming soon here then to the live servers. But in particular, what we want to do is focus a little bit on some of the upcoming changes to the Bard enhancement trees in Update 22 Patch 2. It's one of the larger features that is in this patch here. And so with me is developer Varguil to talk a little bit about it.
Hi guys.
Hi guys. All right, appreciate you talking. Just a note, I think we are picking up on each other's mics just a little bit. So if you feel like muting when you're not talking, that would probably help people out just a little bit. So, all right. So, what are we here today to talk about? Like I say, the Spellsinger and the Warchanter. But before we get that, we've traditionally been talking just a little bit of news that's been going on in the world of DDO. So, why don't we do that here now? I would say Update 22 Patch 2 hitting Lamania this week is probably the biggest story. But we do have double bonus points going on and a summer sales event, which I think we're going to get to later on a little bit later on the live stream to talk a little bit more about that. So I'll save it for then, but if you are thinking about picking up turbine points, now's really the time to do it. So, but before we get to later on later in the show, let's, like I said, talk a little bit about the Warchanter and the Spellsinger. I am on Lamania, so I should preface this a little bit by saying I think this is most of what you will see come the release of Update 22 Patch 2, but there could be a few tweaks to it yet, still in the works. I know we at least have another build coming, and I think maybe I heard a few possible tweaks yet on top of that.
Right. There's probably not going to be major changes, but there's definitely some numbers, some small balance changes that we are probably likely to still try and fit in.
Yep, absolutely. So let's talk a little now. One thing that's different, say we were here really not that long ago, maybe a month ago, talking about the Swashbuckler enhancement tree on Lamania. That was a new enhancement tree. One of the challenges of what we're doing here is that these are, frankly, well-established trees in DDO.
Right, so one of the things we wanted to be very careful about is not to take away things that players already have or break your characters. We want to make sure that if you've got something you already like playing, that you can keep playing it.
All right, so let's talk. We might as well just go in the order that they show up in the enhancement tree. So let's talk a little bit about the Spellsinger. At its core, how do you envision sort of the new Spellsinger to look?
So one of the things that they've always been able to do, and we just wanted to maintain and increase a little bit, is the control aspect. If you want to play a Bard controller and you want to focus on enchantment and holding monsters or charming them, we wanted to make sure you could do that. And in our worldview, we want bards to be as good as that at doing that as anyone else. Wizards and some other builds can also be very good at that, but we want bards to be right up there, along with the rest of them. One of the things that we're adding in a major way is also the ability to just deal damage. There's been some weaknesses of playing Spellsingers. One of the big weaknesses is bosses, so we wanted to make sure you could still deal damage, and not just be control. This is also, we know some people still want to play bards as soloers or be able to deal with groups. So we took one of the major things we did is add a bunch of spell-like abilities into their trees.
Right, and that should be noted here too. And under the old trees, there were, I guess, what you might call gaps. Some spaces that you'd see in the enhancement tree. One of the things you had to do was figure out how to fit all this new stuff into the existing tree.
Right, which was a challenge, and it does mean that because we wanted to not take away some things that players were using, there's a lot of multiple choices in the Spellsinger tree now. So, for instance, we did not want to take away Flicker because the Flicker is very divisive based on player feedback. Some players think it's not useful at all, and some other players are like, I totally want this and I want to use this. So we didn't want to take that away. And the same was true. There were some people fighting on the forums for things like Reviving Verse or Arcane Aid that can give spell penetration to your allies, which doesn't have broad appeal, but there were some players who were very interested in having that, so we left those in as multiple choices.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in some way that goes to the diversity of our build structure, right? Whereas some people will be like, oh, that's useless, and other people are like, no, that's a core part of my build here, right? So, and we want to make sure we support as many of those different play styles as we can. So.
Right. I mean, that's core to D&D in general, and certainly DDO is build the character you want to play.
All right, so let's start looking at the core enhancements here of the Spellsinger. Each action point spent in Spellsinger gets you a +1 universal spell power to basically up the damage or healing or whatever it is that is impacted by universal spell power there in your tree. Music of the Sewers. In some ways, these some of these are new, and some of these are altered in some ways. I believe Music of the Sewers is one that has received a slight alteration. I do have the release notes in front of me as well. And it's a now +1 bonus to difficulty checks for enchantment, evocation, and illusion spells, and Fascinate now affects oozes.
Right. So the major thing is four of the, well, really five, but four of the core abilities in Spellsinger now give bonuses to DC checks on enchantment, evocation, and illusion. And the final core actually also went from +2 charisma to +4 charisma, which is effectively the same thing, along with some more universal spell power. So that should help them, especially in Epic Hard and Epic Elite, help them maintain their ability to land those difficult hold monster spells and charms.
Sure. Now, I'm sorry to maybe throw this at you unprepared, but I did see a comment on the forums. Why not maybe adding Conjuration or something like that to it? Was that a deliberate change?
It was a somewhat. We didn't want to do everything. One of the things that we were not looking to do was make them the best necrocasters in the game. We really feel that that is where Pellmasters should shine. So, for instance, we didn't want to put in necro. And as for other options, some of it is you can still build it, but bards are not necessarily where we're looking for them to be the best compared to wizards or sorcerers or other classes.
All right, so we have really three along these lines: Music of the Sewers, Music of the Dead, and Music of the Makers. These are, the second, third, and fourth core enhancement there. Music of the Dead, your Fascinate gains the power to mesmerize undead as well. They act like they're fascinated, and then again you get the other bonuses that you get with all the core enhancements in this tree. And Music of the Makers mesmerizes constructs. So by the end of this whole thing, if you go through this line, you can use your fascinate against constructs, undead, oozes, and anything that is typed that as well. Sometimes, maybe there are things typed constructs, maybe you weren't necessarily thinking of them as a construct as well. But it's really three core lines in the Spellsinger, with the idea that it's a really fascinate focused ability there, which many of the bard abilities are. So, moving on, I guess, to Virtuoso. This one I know is a pretty popular one. You regenerate a song every 5 minutes. Do get an extra 2 songs per rest, and 20% bonus to the song duration as well. Not much more really, I think, to add about that. That's pretty straightforward. And then finally, the Maestro of Life and Death. This is a Bard level 20 core enhancement. Your songs fill allies with healing energy or strike down those that oppose you. You get the Heal and Wail of the Banshee spells as level 6 Bard spells. You also get +4 Charisma, 25 universal spell power, and the other things you get from the core enhancements of that tree. Heal and Wail of the Banshee, those are a couple of popular spells.
They are certainly some of the nicer ones, and heal is great if you want to. It's one of the best spells in the game, frankly. So no one is sad to have heal. Wail of the Banshee, some players are hot and cold on it, but even if you're just dealing negative levels to massives of monsters, it's certainly not going to be bad for you.
And we do have a question from the chat room asking, what does Anthem do versus Virtuoso? Anthem being the item effect. Do you, off the top of your head, know the answer to that one?
I'm not 100% certain, but I believe that they are just, in terms of regenerating your songs, they're just going to stack and basically independently give you stacks back.
Sure. I think I actually did have one other question from the chat that actually came earlier, which is some of the Bard tree DCs are based off of Bard level. Does having the Fate Singer Epic Destiny increase the maximum Bard level of 20? That's another kind of curveball I'm throwing at you. Do you know the answer to that one?
I'm fairly certain that in terms of those abilities for basing the DCs, none of the Epic Destinies ever increase the DC bonus of heroic level enhancement abilities.
Sure.
So
sure.
no.
Okay. Let's just move up the tiers here for the Spellsinger. Haunting Melody. Fascinate has haunting notes, intoxicating yet unnerving. Fascinated creatures are haunted for 20 seconds, which gives them a decrease to their saving throws, skill checks, and attack rolls. Nice sort of damage mitigation thing there. You can choose either for studies, choose either musical or magical studies. Let me open that one up because we have a selector here. One is gives you plus 30 spell points, and I assume that goes up by amount spent, and plus 1 bard song per rest. I assume that also goes up.
Yes, they're just more of what you always need, of whatever you feel like you want more.
This is also a way, and I'm not sure how often this would come into play, but this is a way to get the magical training feat and Echoes of Power as well, if you go all the way up to tier 3.
Right, it's pretty useful. That we've done that in a couple of places. Arcane Archers can also get that. Where we basically, if you want to be a spellcaster, these are not really full spellcaster trees compared to wizards and clerics, but we still wanted to give you that option.
Sure. All right, moving on. Lingering songs. Your songs last even 20% longer, so that's real straightforward, and presumably that, 40 and 60. Sonic Blast. Now, this is one of the 2 new Sonic SLAs, if I recall correctly. That's in the tree, right? Or am I thinking of something different?
No, I mean, this is one of the new spell-like abilities. Sonic Blast is actually we made it more spell point expensive than most of them because it's actually one of the best tier 1 SLAs amongst the enhancement trees. It's one of the only ones that's AoE, and it has a crowd control effect where you can daze enemies. So the damage is not amazing compared to some of the other ones, but the fact that you can hit multiple monsters and stop them from attacking you is a pretty big deal.
Sure, and just the let's see, as we go up the tree, it just lowers the duration and spell point cost as well. Finally, Charlatan Tier 1 gives you a bonus to Concentration, Perform, and Haggle, +1, +2, +3. Moving on to the second tier, Sharp Note. Your Fascinate ability now grants nearby allies a +1 bonus to damage for 30 seconds. So when you basically, how's that work? So you use the Fascinate ability to charm mobs, and then people who are within the area of you using that ability get that bonus for 30 seconds?
Yeah, it's just anyone nearby when you Fascinate also gets that ability. So this is a really good way to start a fight because the enemies stop attacking you and your allies are better at attacking them.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. Flicker and Willful. Here's another one. We were just actually commenting a little bit about Flicker. When you're damaged, you have a 5% chance of turning invisible for 20 seconds. Not entirely unlike the one Cloak of Night.
Right, the Maybar cloak. Yep.
Yeah. And Willful is a +1 will saving throws, and presumably that stacks as well as you go up. +1, +2.
Yep, 1, 2, 3.
Yep. Spell-like ability for the Tier 2 as well. We have Reverberate and Suggestion. So Reverberate is a spell-like ability. It does work with metamagics as with really most, if not all, spell-like abilities, right? I'm pretty sure about that.
Yeah, that's pretty much our definition for most of them.
Yep. And this is just a sonic damage SLA.
Yeah, this is a damage over time spell. It was heavily requested by players for sure. Basically, it's fairly comparable to Creeping Cold that druids get, except that this is sonic damage, which is pretty nice because not much avoids sonic damage in general.
And Suggestion works as the suggestion spell. It's basically a single target sort of charm ability, essentially. So we'll take Reverberate here, and Tier 1 and Tier 2 and Tier 3 again lower the cost and the cooldown, the cost and cooldown on Tier 2, and just the cost, it looks like, on Tier 3 here. Wand and Scroll Mastery is pretty straightforward. We see that in some other trees and ability places as well. Plus 25% damage and healing from wands, scrolls, and other items that cast spells, and +1 to the save DCs of your offensive wands. In-game, I often see this used in particular as a way to boost heal scrolls, that kind of thing. And there are some other sources for that as well, but this is a pretty easy way to get that.
Yes, and one of the things that I'm glad we've finally gotten around to is this is one of the last places where the save to DCs and the boost to the effectiveness they used to be separate enhancements, and we've combined them into one because, frankly, the saving throw DCs of your offensive wands is not used very often, so we're happy to put them together.
Yep. And then Marigold Crown, +1 Marigold Crown. Does that mean you get a crown of flowers on your head?
That it is a crown of flowers, essentially. Yes.
Okay, you don't see it though. But you do get a +1 to the DCs of enchantment, illusion, or evocation spells. So that is very nature a selector here, based on basically what your ability is. I know, like for example, I use enchantment pretty heavily as my bard because it works for a lot of the various kind of crowd control spells you have, and that's a pretty good way to easily up the DCs of that. Enthrallment, you use a bardic music used to enthrall multiple enemies. They stop what they're doing, have a chance to break free when damaged. They do suffer a penalty to attack rolls and will saves afterwards, even after being disrupted, and it's a perform check as the will save DC. So not entirely unlike some other bard abilities, like spells and that you might have, as the way to sort of deal crowd control and stop them in their place for a little while, as long as you don't have Zergers in your party who are hitting them on the side, which happens.
Right. Although compared to Fascinate, this still has the advantage of not automatically going away just because they took damage all the time. There's a % chance. And this was something that was somewhat controversial. Some of the players would have liked it to have been wrapped into Fascinate, and some players didn't. In the end, there was enough controversy that we didn't want to put in extra time to make some of our players unhappy,
right.
And we'd rather spend the time doing things that we know will please a lot of players.
And that's actually how we brought in, if I recall, these SLAs. We used that time to do that.
Right. So, for instance, Reverberate is a totally brand new spell, so that took some time to create.
Sure. Let's see, Reviving Verse, another multi-selector here. One is a raucous refrain. I don't think I know of any raucous refrains off the top of my head. Maybe AC/DC, I'm sure. Something that they have a raucous refrain here or there. When you inspire courage, allies get a +1 morale bonus to saves versus sleep, paralysis, exhaustion, and energy drain for 4 minutes. That can be a really good one for some of those mobs that like to, say, hit you with energy drain. And Reviving Verse adds your saving throws for sleep, paralysis, exhaustion, and energy drain as well. So what's the difference here between these two?
Well, the main difference is that one is a purely passive bonus for yourself, and the other one is for your entire party, but of a limited duration and requires using your bard songs.
Gotcha. And it's a +1, +2, and +3 morale bonus as you invest your points. Shout is another spell-like ability. This is another sonic damage, not damage over time, just single point damage.
Right. It's also an AoE. This is sort of like the Bard's version of Fireball, essentially. And it's worth pointing out that Shout and Greater Shout were both heavily reworked, so that now the damage scales with your Bard caster level, which they used to be static when you first got them. So this will now reward you for actually having more Bard levels.
Spellsong Trance, expend a use of your music to grant a morale bonus to spell DCs and a discount on spell point cost to you and all nearby allies. I know this is a real popular one when people, especially starting a quest and casting all those buffs, that this can be a great one to do. But of course, spell DCs as well. And then finally, +1 to your charisma, and there's a second charisma point here on the next tree. Moving up, Song of Arcane Might. Expend a use of music to grant a +1 morale bonus to caster level for spells cast by you and all nearby allies for a minute, plus 30 seconds per bard level. So that can be pretty long there, especially if you're a pure bard. And nice ways to increase the caster level. Frolic gets you when you sing the Song of Freedom on an ally, they gain freedom of movement for 3 minutes. Another way to get freedom of movement outside of casting the spell. Let's see. And then spell penetration for yourself or others. Are you nice or are you greedy, huh? One is, again, based on Inspire Competence. The whole allies get that bonus. And one is just a single to yourself for spell resistance. So, and again, +1, +2, +3. Sustaining Song, you use a music charge to apply a temporary fast healing effect on nearby allies. 24 seconds plus 6 seconds per bard level. This is another popular one that you see quite a bit as a way to sort of increase self-healing while you're going through the dungeons and all that sort of thing.
We also made some changes with Sustaining Song where, one, it was bugged in some situations, and we also made it use your spell power. So if you have more spell power, it will actually heal more than it used to.
Okay. All right. Someone asked, Dan Teal asked in the chat, are some of these being added to the available Bard spell lists? I'm guessing probably the Sonic spells. Any plans to do that you know of?
Currently, there are no plans to change the Bard spell list based on any of these changes. It's something we could look at in the future, but not for the moment.
All right, I'm just taking a quick look at the chat, see if there's anything else missing. Okay. All right, Frolic. Okay, we actually did that. Freedom of movement. And so, yeah, we're at the top of the tree here. Song of Capering. Expend a use of music to make a single enemy dance helplessly. Basically an irresistible dance, huh?
Yes, this is an irresistible dance with some range. We've also changed the casting time, essentially, to be extremely short, far less than a second, which it used to be some time ago, but that had been lost for some months.
Cool. And let's see, advanced studies for musical or magical training. Again, this gives you a whole bunch more spell points or more bard songs per rest as you wish. And let's see, Prodigy is a concentration and perform, +1 to spell pen, and +1 to the DCs of your enchantment spells. Again, that goes +2/+3 based on what you spend. Spell Song Vigor, you use a charge of music to apply an effect to one target that restores spell points over time. Sort of a fast healing version of almost Divine Vitality in some ways.
Absolutely.
And then finally, Mass Hold, Horn of Thunder. We have a spell-like ability where you could actually do Mass Hold as a spell-like ability. It does cost 50 spell points, at least on the first tier there. What else do we need to know about Mass Hold, right? Just basically cast it on multiple targets.
That's more or less what it is. It's pretty straightforward.
And then Horn of Thunder is a SLA that does, again, sonic damage and double versus oozes, and creatures making a reflex take half damage to that. So,
right. One of the things that's nice about that is that scales out to caster level 25, so if you have more caster level boosts or epic destinies, that will continue to scale into epic.
All right, cool. Let's see. I guess when we head on over to the Warchanter then, and actually I'm going to reset my tree here. There we go. Get my points back. All right, so we start off with a Skaldic Rage. This is something that existed before, but we've actually added a tier to it, correct, for Skaldic Constitution?
Well, we've made it multiple choice, is what we've done. Skaldic Rage itself is the same as it's ever been, but we added an option to take Constitution because you might not be a strength-based build. This might not be what you're about, or maybe you're a swashbuckler trying to splash into take some Warchanter abilities, but you're really not focused on strength.
Sure. And Skaldic Rage, basically you get the Rage effect, +4 Rage bonus to Strength, -4 to AC. Ends, you do become fatigued for a short period of time, and doesn't stack with Barbarian Rage. The core enhancements here, let's see, Weapon Training, Martial Weapon Proficiency, that's a nice one, +10 maximum hit points. Inspire Courage does a little bit more damage. And if you're a dwarf, Dwarven War Axes are included.
Right, so that one used to be a tier 5 ability, but we wanted you to be able to use it much sooner.
Yeah, basically. I'd say putting it on the first enhancement will do, or the core enhancement will do that. Second one, Song of Heroism. Cast a song to basically cast greater heroism for a pretty long duration there to the entire party. Let's see. Fighting Spirit, Inspire Courage is an additional plus damage. Now I'm seeing a trend here. Inspire Courage doing more damage, huh?
But it turns out to be a pretty popular thing, and something Warchanters have always been fairly good at.
Yep. And then Victory Song, hit points, you have a much higher base attack bonus equal to your character level, and that does scale into Epic as well, right? So
absolutely
it counts. And again, more Inspire Courage damage. And then finally, War Master, you get an extra bonus to Strength and Con, some hit points. And when you Inspire Heroics for 2 minutes, the target ally gets +5 music bonus to attack, damage, physical resistance, and a bonus to their resist acid, cold, electric, and fire. This is a way to really, I'm imagining something like, say, buff up a tank.
Right, like so you can buff up a tank or even a DPS, as well as yourself, so you can both fight. We made it long enough that you shouldn't be too worried about having to rebuff in the middle of battle. There's still some numbers and bonus types there that we might look at because some things are not stacking intuitively because we give music bonuses throughout the tree. So
Sure. Yeah, it should be noted, like I say, we may see a few more tweaks to this prior to it going out to live. Inspired Bravery, Inspired Courage, an additional +1 to attack rolls and saving throws versus Fear, and that's +1, +2, +3. The Poetic Edda. You are steeped in the rich history of the Elder Sagas. The songs of warrior poets fill your soul, and you long for battle and glory. You also get a +1 bonus to your attack and Bard Song, and that goes +2, +3. Way to get quite a few Bard songs here in the Warchanter tree, and there were quite a few in the Spellsinger to boost your Bard songs as well. Enchant Weapon, Tier 1. It's added to your spell book. The Artificer version basically of Enchant Weapon, right?
Yeah, that's
right?
it. Just +1 to your weapon.
Okay. And Rough and Ready gives you a +2, 4, 6 armor class and physical resistance rating. Way to buff up your guy to be a little more potent in hand-to-hand combat, for example. Also, you get a concentration, intimidate, and jump for focused, which is the going to round out the first tier here. Moving out to the second tier, Boast, Sing a Song to get 25 temporary hit points, and then that goes up as well, 50 and 100. Has that changed? I can't think if that's...
That is what we are currently shipping with. We looked at some other options, but there were some technical issues, and that's where basically we feel this is still useful. 100 extra hit points, even in epic levels. You know, that's a nice buffer to start a fight with.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Words of Encouragement. Inspire Courage gives temporary hit points for a minute and +5 positive spell power. That goes up 20 and 30 and 5, 10, 15 on the positive spell power. Arcane Shield Chant, music bonus to your elemental resistance. Iced Edges.
Yeah. We can actually talk a little bit about Arcane Shield Chant, because
Sure.
there are a number of new chants throughout the tree, including Converting, Ironskin Chant, and Inspire Recklessness is now Reckless Chant. And basically all of the chants in Warchanter they're sort of like the Paladin are in that anyone nearby will get this buff, but we made them last an entire minute, so you don't have to be glued to your Warchanter, but you still have to be nearby. So if you go across the dungeon for the entire dungeon, you won't get this, but we wanted to make it simpler and easier and just apply to everyone in your party who's around you.
Very cool. Iced Edges, cold damage with attacks. That's just basic base cold damage against whatever weapons you have. It goes 1d3, 1d4, and 1d6 based on the tree. And then finally an action boost sprint. This is a action boost bonus to your movement speed, similar to other action boost bonuses to movement speed that you may see in other trees. Ironskin Chant, moving up to the third tier here. You and nearby allies get a DR2 against nothing, and a +2 music bonus to PRR. You do have to have a certain trained ranks of Perform to use, but let me just give you a hint. If you were a bard and planning to do any of these things, you want lots of Perform, so that really probably is a non-issue, I'm guessing. But it probably limits some splashability depending on what you're splashing there. And that goes 2, 4, and 6. Obstinance. You get a +1 to your saving throws while below 80% health, and a +5 positive spell power, and that goes stacks up as well. Actually, lowers the threshold as to what you need to have it activate in regard to health, and does give you more spell power as you invest points in it. High Spirits. Your spirits are always high, and you're immune to crushing despair, waves of fatigue, and waves of exhaustion. You also get a bonus to your spell power, positive spell power there. Frozen Fury. This is sort of the next tier of Iced Edges, right?
Yep, this is all part of the cold attack line, basically.
It does have sort of a paralyzation sort of effect where they can become frozen solid for a number of seconds equal to your bard level. So particularly, I think if you're a pure bard, this could be a very effective way to deal with crowd control while still dishing out damage and doing your attacking.
Right. We're still happy for bards to have some forms of crowd control, even if you're deciding you're the melee guy.
And the points add to the plus to your base weapon damage, so that's pretty nice as well. Again, for the stat, this one is Strength or Charisma, and you have 2 versions of that. Let's move up to the 4th tier, Reckless Chant. You and nearby allies get a +2 music bonus to Universal Spell Power, Double Strike, and Double Shot, and that goes 2, 4, 6 as you go up the tree. Armorer, you get medium armor proficiency and the ability to cast arcane spells in medium armor without arcane spell failure. So if that's an issue for you, this is a way to mitigate that.
This is another one that we pulled down. This used to be tier 5, which meant you had to be level 12. At tier 4, you can get it quite a few levels earlier.
Right, it looks like a bard level 4 here, so that is within the realm of splashing if you're interested in doing that. Movement booster, so let's see. We have the running guy. You get a action boost bonus to movement speed. And it looks... Let's see, what's the other one? Rallying Cry. Same thing, and a +1 action boost to saving throws for 20 seconds. You can use it while fear, and it will dispel fear effects. So Rallying Cry will dispel fear effects. So, I think I actually asked you this once before, but what's really the difference between Expeditious Chant and Rallying Cry?
One of them, that basically Expeditious Chant does less, but is always on. Rallying Cry is something you have to apply.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's... Always on can be nice, especially if you can get that up to +20% action boost bonus to movement speed.
We expect that one to be quite popular.
Yeah, I imagine so. Northwind, when you score a Vorpal hit, meaning you roll a 20 and have it confirmed, your enemy is briefly frozen in ice. Unless it saves, this effect triggers at most once every 18 seconds. Really, this goes up the line of Frozen Fury and Iced Edges as well, where you can really freeze them in place.
Right, this is just the passive version of that, essentially.
And now let's head up to the top tier here for Chant of Power. You and nearby allies get a +2% music bonus to melee damage, range damage, and spell critical chance. And that's 2, 4, 6. So not a bad way to increase that music bonus, which typically does not share that bonus with a lot outside of the Bard tree. So,
right.
You know, yeah.
And this is this is the big thing that makes you really want to have a Warchanter in your raid party. You know, if you're getting... That goes up to 6%, so getting 6% across all 12 people is a pretty big deal.
We actually do have a question back on the Expeditious Chant. Someone asked in chat, is that an aura, essentially, or does it just automatically affect the nearby allies?
So it's all of the chants. I think the way they are technically working right now is every 10 seconds it just applies it to everyone around you in a pretty big area, so it's like an aura. And it lasts for 60 seconds. So if you're just hanging out by the Bard, it's not going to be a problem. You're just always going to have it. But you can run away for a little while and then come back and get refreshed.
Bards are Hotel California. You never want to leave them. So... I'm kidding. But yes, that's nice. And then finally, Howl of the... Or actually, not quite finally, Howl of the North, +1 critical damage multiplier and attack rolls of 19 or 20. So that's a way to increase that base damage pretty easily. Spinning... Well, tier 5, but yes. Spinning Ice, attack all enemies around you for +2 weapon damage. Each enemy is frozen solid if they fail a Fortitude save. So let me just look at these saves here. It looks like it's generally... based on base plus the charisma modifier plus your bard level for a number of seconds equal to half your bard level. So again, besides just attacking all enemies around you in it looks like a cleave effect, right? For,
essentially, yes.
Yeah, for like a +2, plus, it looks like I don't quite have it yet. Let's see. I have to up my tree here so I can actually show you what it does. There we go. +2, +3, and then up to +4 damage, and it increases the saving throw on that as well as you go up. And that, do you know, that doesn't share, say, a cooldown with Cleave, right? So you would be...
No, this is on its own cooldown, so...
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then finally, Kingly Recovery. You heal yourself for 10,000 hit points, which I think is safe to say covers
most people.
In the game. If there's someone out there with naturally above 10,000 hit points, I guess I'd love to see a screenshot. Removes ability score damage, death penalty effects, and the other kinds of things that you would suffer. In some ways, kind of similar to Unyielding Sovereignty.
Very much so, yes. It's an emergency, middle of battle. Oh my goodness, something's gone terribly wrong.
And I'm trying to see what the extra...
So this is limited to 1, 2, or 3 uses per rest, depending how many times you've taken it. Also, something that is not going to be in 22.2, but we're looking at in the future, just because you were mentioning having trouble seeing all of the different ranks of the enhancements, we are adding by default, showing you all 3 ranks is something that engineers have been working on here, and which I'm pretty happy about because I think that will make it a lot easier to see what you can get.
but that's not. I'm not seeing that right now on the
No,
link.
that's
Yeah.
probably update 23.
Okay. Yeah. Very nice. All right. So there we go. We've got our Warchanter and our Spellsinger, and again Swashbuckler here. So now I think the biggest challenge I have is I had pretty much just gone all Swashbuckler because of how great it and fun it was in update 22 here. So now I've got to figure out how to split my points. So you've made my job tough.
We'd like to think that we've, given you some tough choices. Even if you just want to be a melee guy, you still probably want quite a bit of stuff out of Warchanter. And I think a lot of people are still going to want some of the SLAs out of Spellsinger, especially that damage over time spell.
All right, I've got a couple of questions in chat here. Let me see if we can answer them. I believe we did already answer the question about Fatesinger adding to DCs. The answer to that one is no. Right?
That's right.
Yep. Does songs regen from different sources? Blasting Chime, Idled Edge, Augmented Virtuoso, Stack. Again, we did answer that one, and that answer was they work independently. Essentially,
I believe they work independently and stack together, so they won't. They will just all kick off their own timers, basically.
Right. And let's see. Can you get a nice little list of what ship amenities drop from what chains? Sorry, that's a little beyond the scope of what I'm able to do here this afternoon. But you do bring up a point there, Erlock, in our chat, which is with Update 22, Patch 2, the Guild airship amenities will have a chance to drop in the... let me make sure I say this right, because it's in my release notes. It's the end reward list.
From arcs, specifically, not individual quests.
Okay, okay. Maybe I need to clarify that in the notes now that I think about that. I believe I just said end reward list in the notes, but it's end reward list from quest arcs.
Right.
Okay. And do you know if specifically we've assigned certain arcs to certain amenities, or is it random in general?
I believe that all of the arcs that can drop them can drop any of them. There are some individual amenities have different rarity. So right, the experience +5 is going to not be as common as experience +1, for instance.
Sure, makes sense. Another question from Carpin GUI. Epic Eld Edge. I always have a hard time saying that one. Epic Eld Edge turns some most non-AoE bard songs into AoE. So would the Epic Eld Edge perhaps do the same to something like, say, Sustaining Song?
This generally does not apply to songs from enhancements.
Okay, gotcha. This is not so much a question as a suggestion. Could you add negative damage fast healing for us undead casters? I think basically you're looking for a way to sort of have probably something in the enhancement tree, I'm guessing here, right? In the Pale Master enhancement tree to give fast healing negative damage for undead casters. I have not heard of any plans to do that.
I don't think we have any specific plans for that in the near future. There are obviously some negative energy spells, and if you can get a high-level wizard, you can harm yourself, other spellcasters.
Erlich asked a question, why ice for Warchanter and not sonic damage, like what we went with the Spellsinger tree?
A lot of this is just flavor. This is basically inspired by Norse and Nordic mythology. It's not that quite directly, but that's where, there's the Skaldic rage along, it's all part of a piece.
All right. And let's see. This is outside of the enhanced tree. How much time will Lamania's patch be online for? It'll be basically through the week here this week, and the patch is arriving soon. Read into that what you will. And let's see. I think we've got to all the questions in our chat here. Oh, I've got a question about tomorrow's event, which I haven't actually mentioned on the live stream yet, but I am planning an event for tomorrow afternoon. This will be Thursday, July 10th, from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, -4 GMT, on Lamania. So if you're around at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, -4 GMT, on Lamania, stop on by. We're working to have basically a short event where we just kind of hang out with folks, maybe answer a few questions, perhaps drop some stuff, and perhaps do some things with a new creature companion that is now available in the Lamania DDO store. If the Lamania DDO store is up, which it is currently not, but should be within the next, shortly, probably within the next few hours here, and do a search for Macaw, for example, you might yield some interesting results. And we will be talking more about that during tomorrow's event, where we can all go and try it out and have some fun with them, and just see how many wacky adventures we can come up to in the test dojo. So that'll be from tomorrow, 5 to 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on the Lamania test server, so I hope you join us there for that. Let's see. Someone has a question about Owlbear AI. Will a, quote, stop freezing up and not attacking or doing as told? My understanding is that Owlbears are, and Hireling AI in general, is something that we do have on our radar to work on in the future, but we don't have a specific time frame as to that we can announce in regards to when that might be coming. Like, we don't have I can't say, yes, it'll be in the X update or whatever, but it is on our radar and something we would like to find the time to do if we can. Let's see. Carpingy. I say Carpingy UI. Gotcha. I'll try to remember that for next time. Let's see. I think that's just about it. So, Vargwil, I'm going to let you go and have some lunch here, and I really do appreciate you joining us here on the live stream today. Anything else you want to kind of add finally before I let you go?
I just hope everyone loves playing their bards. I hope you enjoy the changes in Spellsinger and Warchanter. Thanks, Cordovan.
All right. Yeah, thank you very much for joining me. And we'll now say goodbye to him. Let's see. Are you ready? Yeah. Got a few minutes? Well, I guess we'll find out the hard way here. Let me be... There we go. Let me give you a quick phone call on Skype. You are quiet. Are you muted, perhaps? Yeah. Should be under Tools, and then Options, and you'll see your audio options there. Try talking. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we might be having some mic problems here. Let's see if we can get this figured out. Check your settings there and make sure it's set to the right thing. It's set to your headset or whatever. Yeah. We might be having a bit of a loose connection here, but working on it. Well, would you be willing to just pop on the headset here and get this done? So, I'm heading the headset over to Tolero here and can talk a little bit about some upcoming sales we have going on.
Hi everybody. So we just wanted to tell you about some of the sales that are going on this month. Some of you may have seen some of the deep discounts happening for July. So we'll be doing a summer sales event. We'll have discounts in addition to our normal weekly sales. So you can get discounts as deep as 35 up to 75% off. I know a lot of people have been enjoying the current half work at 75% off. That'll be running until tomorrow. And then we're going to be having some more deep discounts announced tomorrow. I will give you a little tiny heads up that one of the next ones to go up is going to be the Artificer at 35% off. So everyone can get ready for their Artificers, and then we'll have all that information in the weekly sale page. If you go all the way to the bottom, there's a little link that will take you to it. You can check out the sales for the summer sales in addition to the normal sales and the normal coupons.
And these summer sales are generally every, what day do they generally go up?
Generally, they tend to go up on technically Friday, but we tend to announce them out on Thursdays ahead of time. So they'll basically run for a full week, and they'll be going on all the way till the end of July.
I guess we should note, being as it's not quite Thursday here right now, that right now the sale for summer sales is +5 Hearts of Wood, 35% off, half orc, as we said, 75%, and then we've got the Supreme Ability Lasting Elixirs at half off, and the rest of the Eladrin statue at half off as well.
That's correct. Note about those lasting Supreme Potions, because I had seen some questions about it at one point. Those do stack. I don't know if everybody's necessarily aware of that or not, but that is a stacking stat boost to all stats.
Yep.
So
I saw this on the forums too. Do you know about this one?
Astral Shards going on sale?
Yeah, with all the double bonus points, I think we have some interest.
Gotcha, yeah. Now, if you're going for Astral Shards, now is a really good time to get them because we do have double bonus points going on through this weekend. So this weekend's the last chance to pick up your double bonus points.
Cool. So. Anything else you want to mention to say hello to the chat here quick?
Oh, no, I just really enjoy seeing everyone's feedback about the store. One of the things we're considering doing, if people are interested, is maybe having a couple of item spotlights here or there just to, sometimes if people don't understand what an item does, you know, it might changed the way they see the item. Like those potions, for example, a lot of people didn't understand how they worked. So we'll be going through and talking about a couple of specific items that are, exciting, but maybe they get overlooked because you're busy questing.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate
thanks for
you
having
being
me.
here. All right. Thanks. All right. Yeah, thanks again to Lara for joining us on our weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream. I really do appreciate that. And I think we are just about ready to wrap this one up here today. So we'll be back to our regular schedule probably next week. I'm going to be back on Solana for part 2 of Solana. Not quite sure what we're going to do yet. I'm kind of eyeing perhaps some of the Veil of Twilight. We haven't yet done that on the live stream, and that does work with the level 15 character I've got on Solana right now for the live stream. So I'm thinking maybe Veil of Twilight, but we'll see what happens next week when we get here. So again, hope you see us on Lamania tomorrow from 5 to 6 p.m. and hope you enjoyed the Spellsinger and Warchanter. Update 22, patch 2 coming very, very soon to Dungeons & Dragons Online. And I don't know if there's anything else really we should mention as well. If you haven't yet seen it, we did have last week our DDO producers letter go out, so that talks a little bit about what's coming for Update 23, Update 24, and some other stuff there as well. You can find that on DDO.com, and I guess you can join me again at around 1:30 here. So in about 45 minutes, I'm going to be on Argonesson for the Summer Fling Static Group. This is with Lessa and Samus and Grimord, Rachel, Bonnie Bew, Can't Touch. A couple other folks popping in and out as well for that, so you can join us right back here on twitch.tv/DDOstream at 1:30 Eastern for a special static group where we're only using what we find. We have some special rules on death and some other cool things. So if you like to see people really try to run some challenging content at level with perhaps what might be termed slightly undergeared tunes, come join us. It'll be really fun. And it has been really fun to have the group there as well. Let me just check. Yeah, Epic Orchard of the Macabre is set for Update 23. That's from the producer's letter. And let's see. Yeah, I will do a quick code giveaway here as well to wrap up the stream. So, I'm going to take off for now. I will see you guys again shortly. Thanks very much for joining us on the weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream. I hope you follow us on Twitch. If you do follow us, you'll be notified whenever we go live. So it's an easy way to keep up with when we might be popping in on more unusual hours and that sort of thing, and to just kind of get a good notification. Otherwise, you could follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and the DDO forums. We do announce our live stream plans on all of that as well. And if you're live streaming, please let us know about it. I know that a lot of people are live streaming now on Twitch and would love to get as big an audience as they can to see their stream. And one way we're facilitating that is by having a forum thread where people can just pop in, post their URL, say, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm on, I'm off, whatever you want to do. Just sort of a thread where you could really sort of keep a running tally of who's doing what on Twitch or other streaming services. So feel free to use that. You can find that in the screenshots and videos section of the DDO forums. Otherwise, I will see you guys again real soon. Next week at the very least. Thanks very much for joining us. Have fun, and we'll see you again.